So you want to retire in Panama. Before you picture yourself sipping coffee on a mountain porch or walking a warm beach every morning, let's talk about what that actually costs. Because Panama has quietly built one of the most retiree-friendly economies on Earth, almost by design. Let's break down the real numbers. Here's what gets people's attention first. Panama's pensionado visa requires just $1,000 a month in guaranteed pension income for a single applicant, or $1,250 for a couple, one of the lowest thresholds of any retirement visa in the world. Approval typically takes 30 to 90 days, and unlike most countries, you get permanent residency immediately, not a temporary permit that renews for years. Panama also runs on the US dollar directly, which means zero currency risk for American retirees, a genuinely unique advantage almost no other country on this list can offer. Here's the twist that makes this even better. Panama uses a territorial tax system, meaning only income earned inside Panama gets taxed. Your Social Security, your pension, your investment income from back home, all of it arrives completely untouched by Panamanian tax, regardless of the amount. Compare that to Hawaii's partial exemptions or Greece's flat 7%. And Panama's approach is simpler and, for pure retirement income, harder to beat. Then there's the Pensionado program's discount list, and this is where Panama gets genuinely unusual. These aren't loyalty perks. They're written into law, created back in 1987 specifically to attract foreign retirees, and they've barely changed since. Pensionado residents get 50% off hotel stays midweek, 30% on weekends, 25% off domestic airfare, 25% off restaurant meals, and discounts of up to 15 to 25% on hospital and medical services, on top of reduced rates on entertainment, utilities, and even closing costs on certain loans. A retiree who dines out regularly and travels domestically can genuinely offset a meaningful chunk of their monthly budget through these discounts alone. It's a rare case where a government benefit is generous enough to actually show up in a retiree's real monthly math, not just look good in a brochure. Real estate deserves an honest warning, though. Panama's property market has had real title and off-plan construction issues over the years, and due diligence here isn't optional. Proper escrow, title verification, and a local attorney are essential before any purchase, since the wrong shortcut here has cost previous retirees their entire down payment. The upside: new construction can qualify for property tax exemptions running anywhere from 5 to 20 years, depending on the value and completion date, which, combined with pensionado benefits, makes new build property one of the more tax-efficient moves a retiree can make here. Buying resale in an established building tends to carry far less of this risk than buying pre-construction from a developer you've never worked with before. Groceries and everyday goods follow a mixed pattern. Locally grown produce and Panamanian staples are genuinely affordable, but imported goods, electronics, and specialty items carry noticeable markups, similar to most countries reliant on imports for anything beyond basic food and produce. It's not the dramatic shipping surcharge you'd see on an island chain, but it adds up for retirees trying to maintain a fully mainland-style diet. Given how much of this depends on which town you actually choose, most relocation specialists recommend spending real time in more than one place before committing. Boquete, Panama City, and the Pacific Coast all feel genuinely different, and the right fit tends to become obvious once you've actually lived in each for a stretch, not just visited. Location changes the entire budget. Panama City offers the country's best healthcare, most restaurants, and the most urban convenience, with costs to match. A comfortable single retiree budget there runs around $2,400 a month. Boquete, up in the cool highlands, is the famous expat magnet, home to a large share of Panama's roughly 25,000 American retirees, with a single retiree living well on $1,200 to $1,760 a month. Bocas del Toro, on the Caribbean side, offers an island lifestyle with no car needed, running $1,600 to $2,200 a month, though specialist healthcare means a real trip back to Panama City. Coronado, the beach-adjacent option closest to the capital, sits comfortably in between. Healthcare itself splits along the same lines. Panama City has genuinely excellent hospitals, some affiliated with major U.S. medical systems and staffed by physicians trained in the United States, and is a real draw for retirees prioritizing top-tier care without leaving the region. Boquete and Bocas del Toro have solid primary care, but anything requiring a specialist typically means a flight or drive back to the capital, a real recurring cost and logistical reality, not just a footnote, and one that echoes the same neighbor island healthcare trade-off Hawaii retirees face outside Oahu. Here's what nobody puts in the headlines. English is common in tourist and expat-heavy areas, but daily life outside those bubbles runs in Spanish, and retirees who never learn at least conversational Spanish tend to feel that gap constantly, whether at a pharmacy, a mechanic, or dealing with any local government office. Certain Panama City neighborhoods carry real crime concerns, though the areas where retirees actually live, Boquete, Coronado, the expat-heavy pockets of the capital, are generally very safe by regional standards. And while the pensionado visa only requires a visit once every 2 years to stay active, opening a Panamanian bank account as a foreigner has gotten meaningfully stricter in recent years, often requiring in-person visits, reference letters, proof of income, and real patience, sometimes weeks longer than retirees expect, coming from a U.S. or European banking system. The full visa process itself typically runs $2,900 to $4,300 all in for a single applicant, covering government fees, legal representation, apostille costs, and a required medical exam, a real upfront cost worth budgeting for before you fall in love with a specific property. After 5 years of holding residency, pensionados become eligible to apply for full Panamanian citizenship, giving long-term retirees an actual path to a second passport, rather than a permanent visa status alone. Now here's the part most retirement content skips entirely. What does this look like with serious money, not just a pension? Costa del Este, Panama City's premium district, runs at price points that rival premium neighborhoods in Miami or Toronto, a genuinely different conversation than the Boquete or Coronado retirement story, with high-rise residences overlooking the bay and the canal's shipping lanes in the distance. Boquete itself has become known for something else entirely: geisha coffee, among the most expensive coffee varieties on earth, regularly auctioning for hundreds of dollars per pound at the specialty level, and wealthy retirees increasingly buy into small highland farms, both as a business interest and a way to build a real connection to the local economy, rather than simply owning a vacation property. Panama's decades-long reputation as an international banking and business hub also means retirees with significant capital have access to private banking relationships and real estate investment vehicles that simply don't exist in most retirement destinations, a legacy of the country's long history as a regional financial center. Reforestation and teak investment funds, marketed specifically to foreign investors looking for a tangible, land-based asset, are another Panama-specific option worth researching carefully with independent legal advice, given how much quality varies between operators. And because Panama sits south of the hurricane belt, wealthy retirees building a serious coastal or highland property here are taking on meaningfully less climate risk than equivalent investments in the Caribbean or Gulf Coast, a structural advantage that quietly underpins a lot of the country's real estate confidence. It's worth a quick comparison to Costa Rica, Panama's most obvious rival in this exact conversation. Costa Rica offers similar natural beauty and a well-established, decades-old expat community. But Panama wins on tax simplicity. The US dollar economy removing any currency conversion math from daily life, and the sheer generosity of the pensionado discount system, which Costa Rica's own retiree program doesn't match line for line. Costa Rica edges ahead on environmental reputation and some healthcare metrics, and its Pura Vida cultural branding has a longer head start with English-speaking retirees. Neither is objectively better. It comes down to whether the discount system and dollarized simplicity outweigh Costa Rica's slightly different lifestyle and climate. A couple of quick myths worth busting. Panama's territorial tax system doesn't mean you skip U.S. tax filing obligations if you're American. You still file every year, though the foreign earned income exclusion and standard deductions often bring the actual bill close to zero once Social Security exclusions are factored in. And the Pensionado visa's low income threshold doesn't mean a bare-bones lifestyle. The average Social Security benefit alone comfortably clears the requirement for most retirees, with plenty of room left over for the actual cost of living. Let's run the real math. A single retiree meeting the $1,000 minimum and settling in Boquete spends $1,200 to $1,600 a month and pays essentially zero Panamanian tax on that income, while stacking pensionado discounts on top. A couple with a combined $3,200 in average Social Security living comfortably in Panama City spends around $2,400 a month, leaving real monthly surplus even in the country's most expensive city. Now picture a third retiree relocating with several million in investable assets into one of those private membership communities. Their property tax stays proportionally modest, even on an 8-figure home, and their real financial planning shifts entirely toward estate structuring and club dues, rather than anything resembling a typical retirement budget. So does retiring in Panama actually work? For almost any income level, the honest answer is yes, more reliably than most countries on this list. The combination of a rock-bottom visa threshold, zero tax on foreign income, a legally mandated discount system, and a dollarized economy removes more of the usual risk factors than almost anywhere else. The real decision isn't whether the numbers work. It's which version of Panama, Highland coffee country, capital city convenience, or Caribbean island quiet, actually fits the life you want to live, and how much due diligence you're willing to put in on the property side before you commit to any single piece of it.